As this unprecedented cycle heats up, the Harris team said to be vetting about a dozen possible vice presidential candidates. Two names appear to be rapidly rising and likely to fill the #2 spot. Senator Mark Kelly from the great state of Arizona and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Both preside over essential swing states for Democrats. They're considered to be well-liked among their constituents. The Harris campaign pledging to select a vice presidential candidate by August 7. That's 11 days away. Here to discuss is Arizona's KPNX TV political reporter and anchor Bram Resnick and Spotlight PA investigative reporter Angela Columbus. So, Bram, I know that he's got this central casting resume. How is he on his feet?
How is he on his feet? You might be asking the debate question. I'd say that might be the weakest part of his game. If he's on his feet, he can answer questions from reporters in a scrum. That's fine. If you're going to put Mark Kelly in a debate against someone like a J.D. Vance, he will do a solid job, and not more than that. He's not a prosecutor. Coincidentally, back in 2022, he won his U.S. Senate race against Blake Masters, who, like Vance, is a Peter Thiel acolyte, heavily financed by Peter Thiel. And Mark Kelly held his own. If you watch the debate, you might say, which one's the Republican here? Because he's pretty moderate for a Democrat, but that's how you win Arizona.
Angela, every 4 years, the nation gets a lesson on the Philly burbs. Well, this time, potentially, there could be a candidate born, raised, and residing in those Philly burbs, Josh Shapiro.
Yes. So Josh Shapiro has grown up in Pennsylvania. He's been in politics in Pennsylvania for 20 years. He's got a huge name recognition. He was a state legislator. He was the state's attorney general, and now obviously the governor for the last year and a half. He does very, very well in the vote-rich Philadelphia suburbs. He's from there. They truly like him, and he has appeal not just with Democrats, but he also has appeal in that vote-rich area with moderate Republicans. And that is a big constituency. And if you can get it in Pennsylvania, and if you can win that area, you win the state.
So I happen to think that Vice President Kamala Harris needs a Sister Souljah moment, and it occurs to me that with regard to both of these candidates, and Bram, I'll start with you, she gets that insofar as Mark Kelly has a border posture different from hers. Do you agree with me that his stance relative to the border is an asset, not a liability?
That might be his greatest asset. In this case, his biography, which is just golden. Mark Kelly, his wife Gabby Giffords, national figures in a lot of ways. But Kamala Harris's and the Biden administration's weakness on the border is something he could shore up. It's funny, before the interview, I was just going back to 2022, looking at some of the coverage, and recall he called President Biden dumb for ending Title 42. He wasn't alone. So did our other senator, Kyrsten Sinema. But they stood up to that and stood with Republicans, and he's not afraid to do that. He is in regular contact with Republican communities down by the border, Republican and Democratic. He gets the border in a way that I don't believe the Biden administration ever has. And that's going to be a big issue here. I know it's also a big issue across the country now, right? In the Northeast, Midwest, as well as Arizona. Immigration is one of the top 3 issues, and she desperately needs that kind of help.
Okay, and Angela, relative to Josh Shapiro, I know, and what I'm here to argue that I think that as Kamala Harris is portrayed as being very far to the left, it would help her to have a running mate who is seen less so. And in Josh's case, might school choice give him some means of saying, hey, I'm not as progressive as she is?
Oh, absolutely. First off, he is a moderate Democrat and from a must-win swing state, right? And he has been able, during his time in public office, to forge relationships with both the business community and other Republican-leaning type factions. And one of the ways that he has garnered some support among Republicans is his position on school choice. He supported a school voucher program in his first term and in his first year. A little less so this year. It's been a bit of a double-edged sword for him. While it has drawn some support from Republicans, it has also alienated some traditional support from Democratic factions, particularly those that are very pro-public school factions. So that remains to be seen how it's going to play for him and as potentially him on the presidential ticket.
Bram, such a game of inches, not only in the presidential race, but also in the U.S. Senate, that I've heard some say, well, what would happen to that Kelly seat if he were to be the running mate and win? Can you just give me 30 seconds on that?
Well, the governor, our Democratic governor, would appoint a replacement for Mark Kelly, and that person would serve until 2026. That means there would be a midterm election for the U.S. Senate in Arizona. Midterms historically not great for Democrats. They were pretty good in 2022, but you had some good Democratic candidates running up against some pretty weak Republicans. So that's making some Democrats nervous right now. And I do want to let folks know, we're often thought of as a purple state. We just got some new registration numbers last night. So talking about whether Mark Kelly can deliver a swing state. During the Biden years, Democratic registration has lost 3 points of market share, if you look at it that way. Democrats trail Republicans by 250,000, independents by 200,000 in registration. That's a pretty big hill to climb for anybody during a presidential election year, let alone a midterm election year in 2 years. So a lot of people, on the one hand, might be excited about Mark Kelly perhaps getting the VP nod. On the other hand, if you're a Democrat, you're a little bit worried about what happens in 2026 and whether he can hold on to the seat.
Angela Columbus, I'm limited on time. 20 years ago, you first met Josh Shapiro as a freshman state legislator. First impression?
Oh, I mean, he was within a couple of years of taking office. He was considered a rising star in the Democratic Party. If you've seen him speak, he is smooth, he's polished, he's good on his feet. And that has only gotten stronger as he's gotten more experienced.
Thank you both. I really appreciate your insight. We'll see. We'll find out soon. I appreciate each of you. Checking in now on your social media comments. What do we have relative to this issue? I hope Harris team realizes that Shapiro would cost her Michigan because of Israel. Really? Are we that simplistic? Ooh, he's Jewish. I guess we're going to now lose Michigan? I don't think so. I don't buy into that logic. But I'll read on. And Kelly could cost a seat in the Senate. Beshear is the best running mate. But does he deliver Kentucky? He knows how to talk to rural voters and can make inroads in his jobs creation record. Look, Jack, maybe you're right. I don't know. We'll see. I'm giving you 4 choices, and you still have time to vote at Smerconish.com right now. Here it is. Who will Vice President Harris select as her running mate? I'm giving you Andy Beshear, Roy Cooper, Mark Kelly, Josh Shapiro, and the all-encompassing other, in case you're thinking of somebody else. While you're voting, subscribe to my free and daily newsletter. What will you receive? You'll get editorial cartoons like this from Rob Rogers.